I've got some friends up in that BeulahLand. Don't expect to stop until I join the band. My Lord said he said he would shake my hand. Oh Lord, Lord. I've got a mother in the BeulahLand. Don't expect to stop until I join the band. And my Lord said
Painting was actually painted from a photograph that was taken in 1901 right down the street on Scriven Street. And somebody found it that knew the family. And it used to be a boarding house. And anyway, this little boy's mama was a cook in the boarding house. And of course he shined shoes, and it was a very common thing for people, little boys, to shine shoes on the streets, you know, during my lifetime when I was a boy. But anyway, that was painted from a photograph. So, and of course I painted it in color. The photograph was black and white, but that's just the way he was dressed. With those patches of rags, it would have been kind of like a overseer or a boss. They would ride a horse. Sometimes they didn't have a horse; they'd ride a mule. And visit, you know, people working in the fields. The way the cotton, it was picked, and late afternoon, knocking off time, they would that sheet would actually be spread out on the ground, and it would be picked in sacks like this. And late afternoon, they would tie these sheets up, and the wagon would come around with the scales on the wagon, and they would weigh it up, and they actually paid everybody immediately. The time they weigh your cotton, if you picked 100 pounds, they'd pay you $1. You know, that's the way it was. Then they would throw the sheet of cotton on the wagon and take it all to the barn. You can see these are some smaller cotton seams, and that's probably one of the best-selling things I do is the cotton seams. And I'm glad, because I know cotton probably better than anything else. All this painting Communion of Souls. Anyway, my idea was in this painting was this old lady here, her husband is dead, and this is his chair where he sat, and now the cat has taken the old man's chair. Sweet potatoes was a big part of, I don't know how I want to say this, but it kept a lot of people from going hungry, you know. Well, that was one of the main food sources of Southern people. Just about every farm had sweet potatoes. He would plant like 2 or 3 acres sometime of sweet potatoes and give them all to the people that lived on his farm, you know, for their food during the winter. And it doesn't show it in this picture, but they would have what they call a potato bank. You would scratch out a kind of a hole in the ground and put pine straw down. You put the potatoes on the pine straw, and then you would take sticks, cut out the woods, and build like a teepee up over that. And then you would take some kind of like one of those croaker sacks or burlap sacks, and you'd wrap around those poles, and then you'd cover it up with dirt. And that kept it from freezing, kept the potatoes from freezing. And then you'd leave a little opening, a little doorway where you knew where it was. And when you wanted a sweet potato, you just open that door and reach your hand down in there and pull out a sweet potato, you know. You'd do that all times of the year. So there's a little bit of history behind just about everything I painted. You know, it's things, a way of life that I'm trying to bring back, and, you know, memories, I guess, things I remember. And a lot of these people that I paint, like this is somebody in my past that I remember, you know, and I give it a little more of a low country touch than what I didn't grow up in the low country. I grew up in the central part of the state where I got the live oaks and the moss, and of course we had plenty of moss and plenty of live oaks in Sumter County, but that's a little more of a low country painting than it is actually where I grew up. But this is about the way the dogs look. And probably about 2 miles from where I lived, that used to grow gourds, and my brother and I would go and buy gourds from him. And his house was leaning like that, and it was propped up with a pole. Got him to pose for me. He kind of fit what I was trying to capture there. He wasn't really that ragged. I kind of ragged him up a little bit, but anyway, I got him to roll me a cigarette, and he knew exactly how to do it. They're doing several of my paintings and putting them on pillows and throws, and they've done 2 already, and then they've got about 3 or 4 more in the works now. A painting of my brother, and it was something that we did in the winter months. Almost every afternoon we'd go squirrel hunting. So we usually take an old flour sack or a sugar sack and make a hunting bag out of it. Anyway, I got him to pose. I kind of dressed him up the way I wanted to and got him to pose for that picture. And a person especially, I'll sketch it out and think it out real well before I start. If I'm just doing a landscape, I don't do it that way, but I do usually sketch out a, person if I'm going to do a person. I painted him twice. He had such a good face and he had a lot of character, and so anyway, I painted him a couple of times in my paintings. He didn't really pose with that mule. I just put the mule in the picture and made it look like he was holding the mule.